published an article just titled just that, Going to Bed Hungry. And it revealed that over 26 million people in the country, that's 26 million fellow Americans, are going hungry every night. Think about that for a minute. No longer just the homeless, no longer just the people who are down and out, but chances are that you either yourself are going through hard economic times, or you know someone that is actually not only going through hard economic times, but it also food insecure. You know, we hear about these food banks across the county, often promoted by politicians who have very little to do with the actual construct or facilitating these programs. But who's really behind these programs? To my right, I have the distinct honor of presenting Chaplain Vanessa Tinsley. Thank you, Fabiana Sanchez. You introduced us, you connected us. And ever since I spoke with this lady, I've been wondering and thinking, how can I help? And hopefully at the end of our conversation, we can get you to think the same way, because we're helping our neighbors and we must help our neighbors. Before further ado, I'd like to introduce Chaplain Vanessa Tinsley.
Thank you so much for having me on today. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. And thank you for speaking to who is in the food line, that it's no longer just that traditional idea of somebody who's homeless and really down and out that's in the food line. It's people who look just like you and me, who've gotten an education, have had or maybe currently have a great job, doesn't make enough to make ends meet, has to choose between maybe putting enough gas in the car to get to work and putting food on the table.
Medicine, I mean, I'm sure you come
Medicine
across
is a
people.
biggie, and I've had to make that choice myself. It's hard when you think about people choose to go without insulin. They take less than they need. Children go without inhalers. Parents go without blood pressure medication. All of these decisions are getting made regularly and consistently in our county by tens of thousands of people. And that's crazy when you look around at what a beautiful place we live in. Yeah. And there's so much affluence and so much opportunity, and yet a big number of people living in our county just can't put dinner on the table.
Which brings me to a point. I mean, I spoken with you and did some research, and then you shared the amount of meals that you distributed free last year. Man, over close to 1.7 million meals.
It's crazy.
How many people actually, in a county that we have, what, 2.7 million residents?
We do. And you think about that, we are just one of many agencies serving Miami-Dade County. And so you multiply that across the county, and it's incredible the number of people who are food insecure in Miami-Dade County. And a lot of them are children and senior citizens.
Wow. Just blows my mind. So the Alice report, right?
Yeah.
The United Way, and I've spoken about this before, the United Way puts out an annual report. It's called the Alice Report, Asset Limited Income Constrained Employees. And it looks at the household conditions, the economics of the households, or the conditions of the economics in the households. And prior to COVID, I was shocked. 59% of the households in Miami-Dade County were 1 or 2 paychecks away from economic disaster.
Right.
Now COVID strikes, and we have you distributing over 1 million meals.
Yeah, it's really it's been an unusual year. It's been a painful year to see people coming through in their cars in tears because, you know, they're in a food line, and they're working. They've been working. They've done all the things that we say you need to do. And I've been on the soapbox for years talking about the disparities between income and what it costs to live. And so we've been preaching, we live in a county where people do not make enough money to be sustainably self-sufficient. They're always on the edge. You know, the brakes go out on the car and they have to do without something. When you think about your food budget, it's the one thing you have that's flexible. Yeah. You can't call the bank. You've got to make your mortgage payment, or you've got to pay your rent. You've got to pay your car payment. If you are commuting, you have to put gas in your car or buy your bus pass,
tolls,
your Metro Rail pass, your tolls. All of that has to happen. what's flexible? I mean, most of us don't have anything in our budget that's flexible. People have done away with cable and luxuries, and so what's flexible? Well, I don't have to spend $200 this week on food. I need that $150 to take my car to the mechanic.
Yeah.
So now I have $50 in my food budget. So that means we're not all eating every night. That's just the reality, or we're eating very poorly. And that's also got its own set of issues, because if you're eating ramen noodles for 59 cents and calling that a meal, you're paying the price for that down the road. And we see it with increased hypertension, increased risk for diabetes, all the things that happen. Our kids are coming to school in elementary school, and they need to stop and have a break, not to go take their ADHD medication, but to go take their insulin, because they're not eating well. And so the impact on their health, long-term and short-term, is not good, which down the road has economic impact for all of us. They don't perform as well at school. They don't have the same opportunities for good jobs down the road, and they're racking up bills at the hospital that they can't pay. I mean, it just is an endless cycle because we're not meeting that most basic need.
So let's talk a little bit about the incredible work that you're doing at you and your team, right? At Bridge of Hope, right? Bridge to Hope, excuse me. So beyond the food distribution, tell us a little bit more about what you guys are doing over there.
So at Bridge to Hope, we have a comprehensive set of programs, because honestly, the first thing we all remember, high school, we studied Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So at the beginning, if you don't have food and shelter and water, your basic needs aren't met, you can't move up that pyramid. So we have our first line programs are all about meeting those most basic needs, making sure that people have food, making sure that they're properly sheltered and housed. So if you come out of a shelter and you get moved into housing, but you don't have a bed to sleep in, or you don't have a blanket to cover up with, we've been in homes to do surveys and seen babies sleeping in laundry baskets on a bed of newspaper. It's the United States of America. That shouldn't happen anywhere in this country. So we provide all of those things. We help people with furnishings, with towels and sheets and blankets. We don't just give them food. We make sure they have pots to cook the food in. We make sure they have plates to eat the food off of. And we just try to really support the family in a way that leaves them free to focus their energy on having a life that's better, what they imagine, which means they actually have time for the kids to sit down and study, to help them with their homework. And then that's our second line of programs, is we do programming that help people level up. So we do financial literacy education. We have a partnership now that we've just entered into with Mujer. So they do domestic violence and sexual abuse counseling with our clients and right out of our locations. We do delivery of all kinds of services. We have a tech ed program that we started with children who are actually incarcerated, so that when they got out, they would actually have a skill set that was marketable, and they could have a shot at a job that would actually pay them a living wage and hopefully deter them from going back into crime. So living wage jobs are really important for lowering crime.
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned it earlier, we have people, a workforce in Miami that's underemployed, and in many cases unemployed, and in other cases underpaid. Right. Those that are so fortunate to have jobs. And we all, from a business owner to the employee, everybody's trying to make ends meet, survive. But from your perspective, and you've been around a little bit, you've been very involved in the community. You've seen firsthand the issues. What would be your suggestion to elected leaders that will be watching this as to how do we improve the working conditions in South Florida?
Wow, that's a big, huge question. And there's so many components to that. We need to be supporting our workforce. Transportation is huge. It's so hard just to get back and forth to work. And that's something we have to change, because people just get discouraged. And frankly, some people just can't afford the commute. And the commutes become harder and harder, especially for people coming out of South Dade, where we don't have public transportation. I used to work in Coconut Grove. It was a 2.5-hour commute on public transportation. And I'm big into ecology, so I would have much preferred to use public trans than to be in my car. but it wasn't possible to take one bus to the busway and to catch another bus to go to the Metro Rail, to take the Metro Rail into the Grove, to get on the circulator. It's crazy what people are having to do just to get to work.
But that brings me a point. And if I haven't mentioned, those 1.7 million plus meals that Bridge to Hope has provided free through Vanessa's leadership and her team, that's been in South Dade, right?
That's primarily in South Dade. We are in Overtown and Liberty City as well. But yeah, it's primarily South
But we
Dade.
have this massive expansion of growth population-wise in South Dade. You have all this housing development going up. You have people moving to South Dade. Where are the jobs?
Well, that's a question I've been asking for a long time. I moved to South Dade. My father was actually stationed at Homestead Air Force Base.
Thank you for service.
Back in the day. Yeah, he was amazing. And my husband was stationed at Homestead Air Force Base. And then my daughter was stationed at Homestead Air Force Base.
A little connection here.
So we have some experience with being in South Dade and really seeing the change, seeing, pictures of what Naranja was just a budding community when my parents were originally stationed here. When I came here in 1984, it was an agri district and there were fields everywhere. And if you could pick, you could really make some money. And the only time we ever saw anybody in a food line then is like between seasons when there was no picking to be had. And now we see this just massive push, which disenfranchises people, by the way, from their heritage and their people and their support network into a community that really doesn't have anything but housing. We don't have major employers. We have a small UPS hub there. We've just recently had FedEx that has moved into our community.
Amazon's moving down.
Amazon is moving down. I don't know if you remember, but back some years around Hurricane Andrew time, there was a big commerce park that was built south. And there's nothing there basically, but there's 2 or 3 things. I think Budweiser's down there and a couple of other things, but basically it's just empty. So we need living wage jobs. If you live in South Dade, your job options are few and far between, and most of them are in grocery stores or at retailers. That's it. And you are not going to make a living wage.
And by projections, right? Economists say that in order to live comfortably and meet all your financial obligations in Miami-Dade County, you have to earn in excess of $50,000.
Yeah,
Some will say $70,000.
Right.
And who's doing that? And
that's you've really hit the nail on the head right there, because here's the reality. You have 2 people living in a household. Both have an education. Maybe one is as a teacher and the other one is, managing the Walmart. And you need a degree to do that. You need a bachelor's degree. So you have 2 people with degrees who are in professional fields. They don't earn that. So the first time one of them gets sick and can't earn for a couple of months, guess where they are? They're in my food line. And that creates the spiral, because once you start sucking down that funnel where you can't make ends meet, it just gets harder because you start putting off, okay, in order to take care of this, I got to put that off. And now I owe a late fee on this. And the next thing you know, there's a payday loan. And now I've got to make a big payment on that. And you're just sucked down the funnel. If you go talk to any one of the homeless shelters down there, Chapman or Camilla's house, most of the people in those shelters are people who they've had careers and they can't get back up. And that's really actually why I started Bridge to Hope, because I fell into that trap and found myself suddenly not able to make ends meet. And I never had that kind of experience in my life. I was kind of like, I thought I was bad to the bone. I've been working since I was 14, had a car, had my own apartment at 16, graduated a year early. I just I was always self-sufficient. I did not have a clue how to navigate the system. And I found out that in 90 days, from the first day that I didn't have, in 90 days, I had sold off almost everything in my house. I mean, I was sleeping on the floor because I was trying to keep a roof over my children's head. And it was really, really rough. And I discovered that there was no one out there to give me a hand up. That's what I wanted. I didn't want a handout. I didn't want somebody to just, give me a sack of food and send me on my way, which is what people would do. I needed help to fix my situation. And I never found that help. So I founded an organization that would actually help people find a way out if that's what they really wanted.
So who's contributing to your organization? I mean, I see, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I see a lot of people advertising and promoting, but who's contributing to your organization?
Well, unfortunately, I will have to say not enough people. We're seriously underfunded for the amount of work that we do, but we do have some phenomenal supports. The Miami Foundation came on board about 4 years ago, and they have just been a game changer for us. We got some coaching from Radical Partners that has helped us put some new partners in place. So we have some health industry components, corporations that are working with us. Molina Healthcare and Sanitas Healthcare, they're Medicaid oriented. Aetna, they all help us. PepsiCo rescued us in the middle of this pandemic. We stepped up and we said yes, we would continue to be open and continue to serve. And our increase was like 500%, and we had no funding to cover that. And PepsiCo stepped up and really helped us out until the end of the year. So yeah, you can go on our website, which is bridgetohope.net, and you can see who our funders are. But primarily, we depend on local businesses. Florida Health and Wellness down in Homestead, which is a locally owned and operated business. Dr. Perez and his wife, Yanni, are huge supporters of who we are and what we do, not just financially, but they get out there and they put their hands to the work. And it's just a tremendous blessing. And it's everyday people. It's people who give, $10 a month, and people who give $100 a month. They give what they can out of the goodness of their heart. It takes us only $4 to feed a person for a week. And we provide real food. We're about health and wellness. So it's organic produce and, fruit, vegetables, proteins, meat, all the things that people really need to be eating. We're not about the beans and rice and dried pasta. So lots and lots and lots of fresh food. And we get support from also Fresh Market. And right down the street from here, our partners at Whole Foods here in South Miami, they're just tremendous
outstanding
providers. Yeah, it is.
Well, I look forward to being able to help you make my contribution in the next couple of days. Guys, look, this is about helping one another. We're arguably, we're going through some hard times, many people, but we do know that we have a better future ahead of us, a brighter future.
Absolutely.
With people like Vanessa Tinsley, chaplain, excuse me.
Vanessa's good.
We can help each other and we can pull ourselves out of this difficult time. Vanessa, I'd like to include you in the conversation, the future conversations, as far as, what we need to do as a county to be able to move forward and ensure that we have business growth, but we also have higher wage jobs, career wage jobs.
Absolutely.
That we can do, provide people.
So important to the future of this county because we've got the talent. We have the talent.
Yes, without doubt. So one last parting word to our audience. What would you like them to know?
I would like them to know that if you have never, ever suffered a need, then take a minute to count your blessings and know that the people who are suffering, that it's not like what you hear. It's not like the rhetoric that the people are lazy and they just need to get a better education or try harder or do something different. That most of the people that are in these food lines, my food lines and the ones that you see all over the county, the vast majority of them are people who have made good decisions, who've tried really hard and are trying hard now. And the one thing that they want is just a little bit of help so that they can get on their feet and stand on their own 2 feet, because that's what they want. They don't want to be forever on the dole. They want to be self-sufficient and independent of systems, and they just want your help, and they deeply, deeply appreciate it. I can't tell you, when you see the faces of the people and you hear them, the gratitude is so deep and so real. We're changing lives, and we can do that.
Well, I will tell you, thank you.
Thank you.
Your team. Thank all who contributed, volunteered.
Yes.
I can't think of a better cause. So having said that, look forward to speaking to all of you in the near future in the next shows. Please help Bridge to Hope and help out your neighbors. Today it's them. Who knows if it's tomorrow, it's you.